Alex, today I want to talk about something a little quieter. Can I ask a question? Just a really honest one?
Absolutely. The quiet questions are almost always the most interesting ones.
So, I was thinking about this just the other day. Do you ever feel like the world is just constantly, asking you to react to something, but never really giving you a moment to just pause? Yeah, 100%. It's like everything and everyone wants an opinion from you, and they want it right now. And in a world like that, when you choose to be silent, it can almost feel a little suspicious, can it? Right, and it's that constant pressure, that feeling of just being surrounded by all this digital noise that we really wanted to get into today. And yet, there's this really fascinating paradox, isn't there? Because in the middle of all that chaos, when something really simple shows up, no big explanation, no fanfare, people just, they stop and they watch. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like simplicity has its own kind of gravity. It's not shouting for your attention, it's just whispering. And you can't help but find yourself leaning in a little closer to hear what it's about. You know, I've always felt it's almost a physical reaction. When something just shouts at you, your brain kind of instinctively puts up a little wall. It just feels like a demand. But when something whispers, well, that sparks your curiosity. It doesn't feel like a demand, it feels like an invitation. And so our mind just naturally wants to lean in and find out more. Ah, that's such a perfect way to describe it. It's really the difference between demanding attention and inviting it. One of them is all about forcing a reaction, competing for your focus. But the other, it gives you room for reflection. And because of that, it actually earns your focus. It's a totally different feeling. So, what is it about that? What's really going on in our minds? Why are we so drawn to that kind of space and simplicity? I think it's worth digging into the why behind it. Well, it brings up a really good question for me. Are people actually tired, or are we just completely overwhelmed by the constant choices we have to make about where to put our attention? I think it's a bit of both, honestly. I think we're tired of choosing. And that's why when something simple finally appears, the feeling you get is just relief. It's not asking you to do anything, it's just giving you a little bit of space to think and, just breathe. Yes, exactly. It's like a filter for all that noise. And in that quiet space, it clears away the distractions just long enough for us to finally hear our own thoughts again. It's almost like it connects us back to ourselves. And I think that's the really important part. We're not seeking out these quiet moments to consume more content. We're going there just to breathe. It's totally restorative. You know what's also really interesting to me? How these simple moments feel like they exist in their own little world, almost completely outside the normal rush of time. Yeah, they feel so honest. I think it's because they're not trying to sell you something and they're not trying to impress anyone. There's an authenticity to them that is just so rare to find online. It's not performing for an algorithm, it's just being. That's it. And think about everything that's missing from them. There are no trends you have to follow, there are no instructions you have to read, and there's absolutely no sense of urgency. It's just presence. It's just a moment existing for its own sake. And I think that's why they feel so timeless. So, after all of this, what are we saying? That the secret to getting everyone's attention is to actually do less? It feels so completely backwards, doesn't it? Well, maybe. Or maybe it's about doing nothing, but doing it with a whole lot of confidence. And let's be honest, that might be the hardest skill of all. And I think that really brings us to the heart of this whole idea, right? It's not about getting rid of content, but about finding a little room for our own thoughts inside of it. It really challenges the way we think about, well, everything online. Maybe the answer isn't always just more. Maybe we don't actually need more content. Exactly. Maybe what we really need is just more space inside the content we already have. More moments that invite us in instead of just shouting for our attention. I think at the end of the day, that's the real takeaway here. The most powerful experiences, the ones that really stick with us, they're not the loudest ones. They're the ones that leave a little bit of room for stillness, for reflection. They leave room for us. So I guess that leaves all of us with a more personal question to think about. In a world that's just so full of noise, where are you going to find your space?